This episode of the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast is brought to you by the Podcast Reach System. Are you ready to exponentially reach more profitable customers? Launching and hosting your own show is your proven best solution for networking, client attraction, and establishing your celebrity expert brand. Visit www.podcastreachsystem.com and claim your rightful place as the leading star of your industry so you make a difference for your community, market, and audience. Welcome to the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast. Join us as we celebrate entrepreneurs, business creators, and brilliant minds who reveal what they are doing to make the world a better place by being part of it. Be sure to visit our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now sit back, lean in, tune in, get your notepad and 2 pens ready, and let's get started.
My name is Adam Homey. I am your host, and I am honored by your wise decision to tune in and invest in yourself today. Right now, we are speaking with Patrice Porter, and I'm so looking for this conversation. Patrice is known as a garden mentor and consultant, founder of Got Dirt, Gardening for Kids program, and the author of the book series, Bringing Out the Potential of Children. You can discover so much more about Patrice by visiting our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com and checking out the notes below this episode. But for now, let's get started. Patrice, welcome aboard.
Well, thanks for having me here, Adam. I'm really looking forward to the interview with you, too.
And likewise. So first of all, how does the work you do make the world a better place for your clients, customers, and the world at large?
Well, I want to pass on that survival skill of gardening to the next generations. And with gardening and being able to grow your own food, it's just not having access to that fresh, nutrient-dense food. But there's so many other benefits from that, like the physical exercise of gardening is good for your physical health and being out in the fresh air and sunshine. And then also that the physical exercise, will boost your moods, help alleviate anxiety. So it's good for your mental health and your emotional health. And while you're out in the garden and you're nurturing your plants and everything, it's good for mindfulness in the garden because you're attending to your tasks and you're attending to the different details in your garden. So this is really good for your mental health and alleviating stress. And there's many people that consider their gardens their happy place. You know, that's where they go. They're just happy, content, at peace with the world. I know that works for me, you know, and you're connecting with nature. And then also just being in your garden can be just a very healing place. Being out in nature and connecting with nature. And then also it's really good for relationships. It's a great way for connecting with people. And like, especially with teens, you know, they might be feeling a little lonely or anything. You let them start a garden of their own and grow some cool things that makes for some good conversation starters and really good for building their self-esteem, that they're growing their own food, they're contributing members to their family. If they, you know, some kids want to just have fairy gardens or different things, whatever. Yeah. There's so many benefits of gardening. And then also it's good not only for connecting with people, but you're connecting with the earth and, you know, paying attention to the different elements. And then when you're working in the soil, and you can actually be regenerating our soils, and that and the fact that you're growing your own food, you're not transporting it from way far away. That cuts down on the greenhouse gases, so it's good for the earth too. So it's that in itself can make it good for future generations to come.
Okay, we're done here. I got to go start a garden.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Have you got a package of seeds? We'll get you going right away.
Very good. So, all right. So, what is it that you actually do, just so our listeners understand?
Well, I'm a gardening consultant, and I offer a mentoring service. And then I developed that Got Dirt Gardening for Kids program. And that's where I get kids hooked on gardening. I really enjoy working with the young kids. And that's, that's for the kids to consume, that program. And it gives them an activity to get them off their devices.
Yes, yes.
I don't know about you. I mean, even adults get us off our devices, I
know the feelings. I know the feelings. So, so what are some of the frequently asked questions you get from folks who are working through their process of making a decision to work with you?
Well, they'll come to me and they'll say, so how do we get our kids off their devices and get them interested in gardening? Or they might come and say, well, how can I grow food? I live in an apartment, or I have a brown thumb. Or how do I start? I haven't got a clue where to start. So those are typically where people come to me from.
Right. What are a few questions you wish people would ask?
Well, I wish they'd come to me with questions like, so how can I plan to have higher yield and a more abundant harvest? Or how can I get me and my kids involved with gardening? Like they're willing to work together with their kids, because it's a terrific bonding experience. Or things like, well, here I am with my gardening. What's the next steps should I take? Or how do I take my garden to the next level? That's, where people are into it and they really want to, start gardening and growing their own food.
Yeah. Let's shift gears a little bit here and let's discover more about Patrice. What is something that people who know you would be surprised to learn about you?
Well, this might shock a few people, but I was once the women's arm wrestling champion in Big River.
Wow.
But that's just, yeah. And also, also, I really actually like challenges. I like to challenge myself, and I like to having breakthroughs, and especially when I'm working with kids and have breakthrough with the kids and help them to open new worlds. I mean, you might not know, but I actually like those challenges.
Yeah. What do you hope people say about you when you're not around to hear it?
Well, I would hope they'd be saying, Patrice Porter, she's just got a wealth of knowledge, and gee, I wish she'd be my mentor. Right.
So if you could go back in time and change anything you've experienced or done, what would it be and why?
Well, I was always really hesitant to tell people the services that I have and what I'm doing. And I found that if I could have opened up sooner and offered these services, that I could have helped a lot more people that might have been having food insecurity issues, like not knowing where their next meal comes from, or not having enough food to meet their needs. Yeah. If I could have put myself out there earlier, I think I could have made a lot more difference.
Yeah, this comes to mind for some reason, but every so often you'll hear some blathering politician give a speech, and they'll say something like, "Why do we need to care about farming? There's food at the store." Now,
Oh man.
unfortunately, I've run across enough people who will hear a statement like that and say, "Yeah, and what do I need a farm for? There's a Kroger's."
Yeah.
This is part of
But
why
how,
I think
like,
your work is so important, because the food doesn't actually come from the store. It comes from where the store gets it, and that's ultimately farms and gardens.
yeah, and also there's been disruptions in our distribution center delivery. Like, it's so you can't really rely on the stuff in the stores. Like, during COVID, like, how many times were shelves emptied out?
Well, yeah,
Certain things.
I mean, we went months without being able to get paper goods. That should tell you something right there. And even in recent times, I remember having to go 3 different places to find a garlic bulb.
Yeah. And I just harvested a big batch of garlic out of my garden. And really, I mean, it really isn't, if you get the basics down of gardening and you're creating good soil, it really isn't that hard to be growing some of your own food.
Yeah. Some friends of mine who live in Central California have a backyard, and they have all kinds of fruit trees in their backyard. One of them is an orange tree. I'm a big fan of oranges. It's my 5th favorite color and 1st favorite fruit. So I tried one of these oranges right off the tree, and this was like, what is this? This isn't what I'm used to oranges tasting like. This is so much better, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's something to be said, like with fresh picked foods, stuff fresh out of the garden, it just doesn't compare to the store-bought stuff. And that's one way of getting your kids hooked on gardening. Let them taste that fresh garden food. And there's, if you can appeal to kids' taste buds, they're more willing to get involved.
Yeah, and in that case, I said to my friends, all those times you've offered me stuff and I've declined, give me a bag. I'm taking a bag of oranges.
Yeah. Yeah, I love fresh squeezed orange juice, but
yes. So what famous person, alive or dead, would you like to meet? And if you had the opportunity, what questions would you have for them?
Well, I think it would have been absolutely wonderful if I could have met Sayuji Yubakin, and he is such a wise man. And I would have asked them the question, so we all have gifts, but how do we better respond to our higher callings?
Yeah. Yeah, and for our listeners, because I think we might have had a slight internet cut there, could you say the person's name one more time?
Sayuji Yubakin.
Okay, and who was that, by the way?
Well, he brought meditation like to the West.
Okay.
And he was the accountant general in Burma. Like, he was never allowed to leave Burma, and he started like meditation centers all throughout there, and just sharing that experience of meditation and the benefits that it could bring. And he because he wasn't allowed out of the country, but he got other people to take his meditation techniques to the world. And
well, that's great.
And
what motivates in this? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought you were done.
It's Vipassana meditation that he teaches.
Great. So, as I was saying, what motivates and inspires you to keep going when you're having a tough time or facing a challenge?
Well, I think it's my strong connection to nature, and when if I'm having a really bad time, whatever, if I can be communing with nature. I actually live in the boreal forest here up in Canada.
Yeah.
And so I can just step out my doorstep and I'm in the forest. So, I mean, and also like with my meditation practices, and it just allows me to feel a little bit more grateful for all that I have, and with that gratefulness and just knowing that I have a lot to share, and that can pull me through a whole lot of things.
Oh, I'm with you.
Can I tell you one story?
We have about a minute. We have a minute. Go ahead.
Okay. So like it was like dealing with COVID when it was first starting, and I was starting to get quite concerned, about all this, and I went to sleep, and I had a really good sleep, and I woke up in the morning, and it was like I'd totally forgotten about it, and it gave me a little, checkup. It's like, okay, so check into with yourself, and what is your actual reality? And that's the same thing. Like when I go out in nature, and I'm I love nature photography and just really getting absorbed in nature. And I was out in nature taking some photography, and I came back in, and my husband had this COVID news on, and just the difference in the mental state. It was like I was joyous and felt wonderful, and I came in, it was just like all this heaviness upon me, and it was like, okay. Yeah.
I get it.
Have those checks.
Yes. Yeah. So finally, and I know you have a special invitation for our listeners, which I will share with them. In general, right now, what is one action you want our listeners to take as soon as they finish streaming this episode?
Well, I'd really love people to just start growing, whether that means taking some seeds and doing sprouting on your countertop or microgreens, or start to plan your garden, what it is you would like to grow, what you would eat and whatever, and then figure out what you need to grow that garden. Just take those steps towards starting to grow your own food.
Exactly. So first of all, Patrice, thank you so much for being with us today. And I know what you want to share with our listeners. If you are watching this on our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com, you will now see on your screen this link, which I will say out loud one time for the people who are out jogging. It's gardening.goberlink, that's spelled GOBRLINK.com/children. gardening.goberlink.com/children. And you can also see that in the show notes. And what you're going to find here is the opportunity to get a book in 3 different formats. It's a beginner gardening guide that helps you start gardening and also start gardening with your kids. So you give them the survival skill for growing food. And if you don't already have it yourself, it'll help you. Again, completely free, 3 different formats, free digital copy. Go check that out. And with that, Patrice Porter, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been an honor, and believe me, in education.
And thank you very much for having me, Adam. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I love being on here, and glad to be able to reach your audiences.
Great.
Thank you for tuning into the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast, where we celebrate entrepreneurs, business creators, and brilliant minds who are making a difference for their community, market, and audience. Remember to visit our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast.